here's my personal opinion on that. I think it's more this negative. I believe in demonic warfare, right? I believe in the oppression by the demonic forces in the black community. Mm-hmm. Because how many girls are raised, and guys too, just to believe they'll never amount to anything. Mm-hmm. They're going to follow the same track as their parent. They're going to end up in jail. Most young black men, they're surprised if they live past 21.
Hey friends, welcome to the Victor Marks Podcast with Victor Marks, founder of All Things Possible Ministries. Welcome to the show where we bring you real conversations faced with life's hard truths, stories of redemption, and the latest from the front lines. Whether you're on the road, getting your day started, or finally settling in, we've got an exciting new episode planned for you. So let's dive into today's show.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Victor Marks Show. Today I have a special guest with me. They're all special, but she's really special. We met this weekend at a Samantha weekend. She was here training at our headquarters training center, doing jiu-jitsu, blade work, some shooting. Why are you laughing? It's true. It's all true. Honey, am I slurring? Am I getting full Cajun right now?
I don't see anything different.
Oh, because I can't drink any more coffee than I already have. Hey, my guest today is Dr. Nadine Phoenix. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Here before me, if you're only listening, is a beautiful, sweet gal who's just, but I remember, because I've stayed alive, been able to read people, and I've done pretty good so far, unless they do a switcheroo on me. But I looked at you and I thought, wow, what a composed, highly intelligent gal. And I didn't know your background, but you actually, you're a doctorate. Tell everybody about your academic prowess. Where did you start? And how did you get interested in school?
So actually, the person that invited me, Alma.
Yeah.
I got married young because that's what we do when we're in that environment.
Yeah.
And I was at the top of my class in high school and got married, had a kid young. And Alma came knocking at my door. She's like, "You need to go to school." And I said, "Well, I can't afford it." She's like, "Well, you have a family now, and you have a dependent, and you can go to school for free." So she walked back and forth, filled out my application. She took it in, came back, and she's like, "You missed this part, fill it in." She took it back to the college, and she's like, "Now you can enroll." I said, "Really?" So I started taking my classes and, kept having kids, but went through, got my associates in liberal arts, then got my bachelor's of science in microbiology with an option in clinical laboratory science.
Whoa.
And professors started recognizing me and were like, "Well, I think you should apply for a master's program." I'm like, "Oh, no, I don't think so." Like, "No, apply for this fellowship and apply for the master's program." So I got a fellowship from NSF to pay me $30,000 a year to get my master's.
Wow.
Finished my master's under 2 years in biology with emphasis in innate immunology. They're like, "Apply to Ph.D. programs." I was like, "Really?" Yeah, just apply. So I applied to like 6 schools, and I didn't get in, but someone declined at UC Santa Barbara. They interviewed me. I was the only one, and then I got in. And at that time, I was pregnant with my 5th child.
Wow.
Didn't know how I was going to do it. I was alone. I was in relationships, but it wasn't healthy relationships. I was always raising the kids by myself. So I was like, I guess I'm just going. And so ended up going to UC Santa Barbara to do my Ph.D. in molecular, cellular, and developmental biology. Hid my pregnancy my first year. It was intensive coursework my first year. Don't ask me how I did it. But I got through it and had my kid. I was also TAing biology classes, biology labs. They found out that I had a baby, told me I couldn't come back for another quarter, but paid me.
Whoa.
And I thought I was going to get kicked out. And so I got shunned from my department because they found out that I had 5 kids. So no one knew how many kids I had going in. I always kept that a secret.
Because they would be biased?
They would not. You wouldn't get accepted.
Wow.
And so I ended up in a chemical engineering department. My worst subjects were physics and chemistry. But I had no other option. I couldn't go back home. I didn't have anybody. So I had to learn physics and chemistry, steep learning curve. Had no idea what I was doing. I was using a surface forces apparatus. My PI invented that machine. So the next 3 years, I dedicated my life to learning physics and chemistry, surface physics, surface chemistry, optics, and writing my own grants and make sure I had my own money so they wouldn't kick me out. But they tried to kick me out because they said, we don't think you can multitask. We don't think you can raise a family by yourself and do a Ph.D. program. And every day I showed up because I had my own money, and it was painful. And they told other grad students, you need 1 first author paper to graduate, but you need 3. So I gave them the 3, 6 co-authors, and I left. I'm like, there's no way you're going to tell me that I'm not going to get my PhD. So I did above and beyond, and I spoke to this woman I gave a talk at this little retreat, and I said, I always wanted to go to Stanford, but I don't think I can. And she was like, well, why not? I said, because I don't think I'm good enough. She said, apply. So I applied, and I got a postdoc at Stanford. Wow. But going back to 2001, I lost a daughter to pre-eclampsia. And I vowed to myself that I don't want anyone else to go through this. So I spent 14 years in education to become a scientist to study pre-eclampsia. So I studied that for 4.5 years.
You can hear the emotion in your voice, and there's so much to that my audience doesn't know, but they can hear it and see it in you. Go back to that. What's one of the biggest just triggers of pain during that time period?
People telling me that I couldn't do it, that I wasn't smart enough.
Folks, there's a lot of you listening right now. We have your full attention because you've been told that. You've been told that all your life. You may be in school right now, but sitting before us right now, what a gift, this princess warrior who proved people wrong. Because in the equation of life and you doing something that is extraordinary, when you include God in it, everything changes, doesn't it?
Yeah, you have to believe in something. I could not do it by myself. There's no way. If I didn't believe in a higher being, then I feel like I would have been like everyone else in my family. And because of my strength and my perseverance, I was able to help my daughter get her degree in computational mathematics.
Oh, my goodness.
With a minor in astrophysics, astronomy, and weather. And she's now at Northrop Grumman as an engineer.
No kidding.
And she's a sailor.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking 5th grade was the best 6 years of my life. And, boy, you have raised the bar. Folks, this is a story of inspiration. And as we unpack this, it's glorious. I mean, wow. You really did break what many would consider like a generational curse, a cultural generational deal. And when we visited yesterday and then today, it's this word of perseverance, endure. That's not talked about often, or resiliency. We're going to get knocked down.
Oh, yeah.
It is part of life. And folks, when you come up against a wall, when you get pessimistic, what can you tell them? I mean, the nuts and bolts of how would you just get up that next day? You've got kids, you're working on, you've got to get your own grant money, and then you got people that don't want you to get your Ph.D. What would you do? What are some of the things that practically you would do?
First and foremost is not attach myself to those negative thoughts.
Wow.
Those negative thoughts, I had to understand that they weren't coming from me, but they were loud, and it was so hard to ignore them. And to ignore the physical drained. Like, I crashed and burned.
Yeah.
And I was on trazodone, I was on Prozac, I was on Effexor, I was on every medication you can think of. I was on
Yeah.
group therapy, individual therapy. I mean, I was on reading, journaling. I'm an artist. I paint and also do graphic design. I'm a CrossFit coach, so I worked out. I mean, I was doing everything to make sure that I wasn't going to give up and reaching out. When someone says, I'm going to help you, oh, you're going to hear me call. Yeah, because I can't do this by myself.
I love that.
And even as far as my kids, finding scholarships to put them in programs. I mean, I couldn't afford anything. And it's my financial situation now is still hard, but applying to scholarships and grants, even for my children, just to, learn how to play chess. I don't know how to play chess, but my children were in everything, things you couldn't even imagine, because I was seeking it out because I wanted them to have a great childhood, because mine was disaster.
Now, you're getting emotional again.
Yeah.
Because many of us didn't have a great childhood. What did that look like for you growing up?
My father was an alcoholic. My mother didn't save us. She just allowed him to do what he wanted. And I feel fortunate because my sister got the brunt of it. But just being afraid every day, and it was not knowing if that was your last day you're going to live. And I was talking to some of the other people that were here. My aunt reached out. Well, I found my aunt, and she said, the one thing that she said to me that kind of shocked me was, I thought you guys were dead. I thought your dad killed you guys. And I kind of had resentment toward her, because if she knew how he was, how come she didn't save us?
Right. We call that the death of a dream, right? As a kid, your primary caretakers are supposed to be the ones that provide a safe environment. And when it's not safe, everything's busted. I also refer to it as like the umbilical sac, that once that thing is broken as a kid, it's just a harsh reality. It's hard to forgive people who have failed us. Have you been able to come to that place of giving up your right to hurt some of the people in your childhood back?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have been going through therapy and understanding how they are and the things that they've been through and the reasons why they are the way they are.
You said that with a smile. That smile looked like freedom.
Yeah.
Because it is freedom
It is.
when you're able to forgive.
Yeah.
And like you, understanding my parents' background and the things that they went through, it sure helped me. Not to give an excuse, but a reason, not to diminish the wrong that was done,
Right.
but at least I wouldn't hold that against them any longer. Because, folks, I've always said this, unforgiveness is like drinking poison and hoping it destroys them, but it will only destroy you.
Right.
So here you are now. What do you do for a living? You're a single mom,
Yes.
and you mentioned finances. We live in a country, it doesn't matter how many degrees you have, earning money is difficult.
It is.
So tell my audience, what do you do to provide?
I'm a teaching assistant professor in a department of biology, and I teach allied health, which is a biology course for non-majors. And I also teach microbiology and cell bio. So I'm at one university, and I'm in a community college. And I'm not tenure track, so
Okay.
I don't make a lot of money.
Okay.
And it's difficult. You think that after 14 years of education, you should
Right.
be making a certain amount. But for me, the reason why I do it is because there's not a lot of women of color in
Right.
the biology department, in the sciences alone. So most of maybe 97% of my students will say, you're the first Black professor I've ever had in science.
Wow. And here's my personal opinion on that. I think it's more this negative. I believe in demonic warfare, right? I believe in the oppression by the demonic forces in the Black community. Mm-hmm. Because how many girls are raised, and guys too, just to believe they'll never amount to anything. Mm-hmm. They're going to follow the same track as their parent. They're going to end up in jail. Most young Black men, they're surprised if they live past 21.
Yeah.
Folks, this is the reality. But yet, I've got a friend, Dr. Mark Little. He's our attorney for organization. A brilliant guy. Love this guy to death. But that's our conversation we have ongoing about why does the devil hate the Black community so much? There seems to be this special hatred to destroy. I mean, look what happened at Chicago just this weekend. So I'm praying for revival and freedom because some of our greatest intellects, and I think just leaders in general, have come but need to come out of the Black community. Mm-hmm. Again, and you're one that's standing here before us that can prove to anyone, regardless of your background, just apply that. Believe, forgive, and press on. Mm-hmm. So, single mom, where do you live right now?
I live in Gresham, Oregon.
Okay. Yeah. And 5 children?
Yes.
What other ages range from?
From 13 to 23.
Okay. So you've got more than one teenager in the house.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We need to pray for you right now.
They're amazing.
Are
kids.
they?
They are amazing. They're all like best friends. They work together. We have weekly family meetings. We have weekly family dinners. Everyone shares everything that they want to do, what they've done in the past week. My oldest daughter will call my 19-year-old, and it's been maybe 2 or 3 hours, sometimes a day talking. Everyone works so close together. There's no fighting. There's no arguing.
Wow.
And everyone does that internal work. They read. We discuss different things. But then again, I spent a lot of time in parenting classes, reading books, because I didn't want to mess my kids up. And I'm always thinking, by doing a certain thing, am I going to mess up my kids? Yeah. But then any decision I make, it's a group decision, because for my postdoc, I got an offer at UCLA and Stanford. And I said, these are our 2 options. I want you all to go on the internet and do the research and tell me what you want to do. But know that you won't see your father as much as possible. Mm. And they're like, let's go to Stanford because we don't want to see him every other weekend. Plus, Stanford has more opportunities.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is amazing. I mean, truly unpacking this. I didn't expect all of this. A lot of single moms out there give up. A lot of single moms make excuses.
Yeah.
A lot of single moms bring the wrong men home because of their own loneliness, and it causes problems for kids. How would you encourage women to find their identity in other things than just a man or the pain of loneliness or singleness?
That's a good question.
It is. Because that's what many single women struggle with. My mom was one. Mm-hmm. And for her, she needed to feel validated by a man. And there's a healthy place for that in a loving marriage, but it's not healthy if you're just trying it. One dude, then another dude, and another, because there's not a lot of guys out there that will honor and respect and see a woman the way she should be seen. Single, especially a single mom. So I tell ladies, don't compromise. Don't compromise. Trust God. Let Him, find your identity in Him, that He's placed you on this earth for far more than just being, your life is based on what a dude thinks of you, because that gets real dangerous.
Yeah, I never needed validation.
Nice.
And I don't know why. My mom left us with my father. So he didn't give me validation, but I can't tell you why I didn't need it. And maybe it's because I was too busy trying to raise these kids in this education, and it consumed all of my time. And then on top of that, I'm an athlete. So any time that I have that's extra would be in the gym, maybe 3 to 5 hours. And right next to would be my children. My 2 older boys are Olympic weightlifters. Wow. My youngest daughter is also a CrossFitter. And any given night, you will see us in the gym putting in our hours. Yeah.
I love this. So I would say stay busy in a healthy, good way. Mm-hmm. Do you limit what you watch on TV or what you read, because it sounds like you have really healthy boundaries?
We didn't have a TV for a long time.
Bam. Mm-hmm. We have one, but we still don't have the regular cable. We encourage folks, don't be programmed by the messaging of our culture. Yeah. It's not healthy.
It's not.
And I can attest to you being a very fit, strong gal. She's out here doing jujitsu and some shooting and blade work. And I was just shocked. I was like, wow, look, is this athletic woman? Oh, my gosh. Well, so let me ask you this, because I'm a pretty practical person. Do you have to work more than one job right now?
Yes.
How many do you work?
So I am assistant professor, teaching professor. I am an instructor. I am a CrossFit coach. I donate my time to a nonprofit organization by grant writing. So this is a nonprofit organization that has CrossFit classes for at-risk youth. And so I just wrote a grant that was funded for $240,000. Wow. And my daughter and I wrote it for them.
Wow.
And we're working on another one that's about another 250. And so with these children, I see myself. And if no one saw the potential in me, there's no way I would be sitting here today. There's no way.
And a lot of times people want to know, what can they do? And this is what we tell them. Start with your family.
Yeah.
Love your children. Be a good parent. If there's a divorce, because marriage is never guaranteed, it takes 2 people.
Right.
Then still be a good parent. You know, that is your primary responsibility, to love those kids, to be an example. And then, as God gives you bandwidth and space, it's easy to encourage young people. Mm-hmm. The work that we do, people think it's like, I'm like, it's not that hard. You just show love and care, and concern. So, do you rent a house or do you own?
I own. Actually was married for 4 years, and my ex-husband now just left. And so my main focus right now is just trying to keep my house.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the only thing I can really focus on right now.
Can I ask you what that mortgage payment is every month?
$3,600 a month.
That's a...
Yeah.
And you know what? That's the one thing I always believe in. If people can, best you can. You know, I remember living in apartment to apartment, 14 schools, 17 houses. But man, to get a home, that means so much. The stability of your children, right?
And we've always had a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment, and each room was stacked.
Yeah.
And for them to have their own room now, I cannot take that away from them.
Right.
I'm going to work however many jobs. I mean, I Uber Eat at night. I DoorDash at night. I mean, I do it all. Yeah.
Folks, again, sitting in front of me, she's gone from princess warrior to queen warrior. Hey, the Ministry of ATP wants to help you out, so we're going to cover one of your monthly payments for your mortgage of $3,600 because you're deserving of it. And I know it's like to see someone catch a breath. Just want a breath, right? And I know God's put that on my heart. We have a lot of very generous people that support the ministry, and I know this is how they want to help you too. They listen to you, and they're like, oh my gosh, how can we help her? Well, folks, we are right now. And then I'd ask people to pray for her because prayer is what will sustain her to the next level. And you are a threat to the enemy, because you give so much hope to so many moms out there and ladies. And we're proud of you. We love you. And we know this is a tangible way for our faith to be put into action.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, we'll land this plane because, man, I was starting to get leaky eyes. We're the ninjas, invisible ninjas, cutting onions in here. Get them out. I asked my first-time guests 2 questions, and there's no wrong answer because it comes from your heart. But first, you've been here this weekend. You've got to get to know Eileen and I a little bit and see our ministry. But what is your perception of who we are or what we do?
So Alma didn't tell me anything about this weekend. I was in total dark. And I didn't get to do the research because she knew I would have done my research.
Right.
I would have known everything about you too.
Yeah.
But you two are amazing what you do for these people. I mean, I wish I would have met you sooner and with my healing and knowing that there are people out there that are helping, especially with the women that you're working with. My sister, she went down that path, and it was hard to watch, and I brought her back, made her get her master's degree in applied mathematics, and she's at NASA now.
Wow.
It was hard doing it,
Yeah.
doing all my things, but then pulling her back. And it was just us two that made it out. And it's so relieving to see that people like you are also helping, and it's wonderful.
Thank you. Well, it's one thing I tell my bride. We do have the gift of helps. We love to help people. And we focus on those that few would know or understand. And from women and children, it's been our passion. All these 20 years we've been doing this now. Last question is, we know we all die. It's just part of the life cycle, death. I always ask my first-time guest, what happens to you, the good doctor, when you pass? You're 110 and you finally close your eyes. What happens to you, and why do you believe that?
What happens to me? I live on in the spirit world, and I get to watch my children thrive.
Love it. So, folks, what she says is true. And this is coming from a very smart gal. You guys, there's a spiritual realm, and we are spiritual beings. We've seen many of these earthly, what the Bible says, temples die, but the spirit lives on. Make sure that you have a relationship with God, your creator. Of course, for us, we call it our surety of salvation is what Jesus did on the cross. That's what we believe and we focus on. But it's so important that you understand that you're more than just here, temporary. You're an eternal being, and God loves you, and he placed you here for a purpose. And as our guest today has lived and shared, don't give up. Press on. Keep pressing on. Don't make excuses, because your story's not over. Whatever you're in right now, and just like mine, I've got another book coming out. I thought, how much life can I live? But it keeps going on. So we love y'all. Thank you for being on the program today.
Thank you.
And we look forward to hearing more about your journey. So, folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, do it for the glory of God. Go full throttle. You won't regret it. We love you. See you next time right here on the Victor Marks Show.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode. We'd love to stay connected with you and invite you to the conversation beyond this podcast. You can check out more of the work we're doing around the world at victormarks.com, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all linked in the show notes. Be sure to drop us a comment in the review section if today's show has impacted you in any way, or if there's anything you'd like to hear more of. We're always encouraged to hear from you. Thanks for spending your time with us. Until next time.